From Tom Christie sacrificing himself to save Claire, to confusion over Roger and Bree's reaction to Wendigo, this is how fans reacted to Outlander Season 7, Part 1. One of the best things to come out of Part 1 was definitely Tom Christie's redemption arc. I mean, seriously, it had fans all over Reddit losing their minds. The writers really outdid themselves with his character development, and it all stemmed from one incredible act of selflessness by the man himself.
Then, I threw them all away.
Can't imagine she was very pleased about that.
She was not.
Let's rewind a bit and go back to Season 5, where we saw Jamie reluctantly accept the role of an Indian agent for the Crown, which would be a weird choice for a Highlander to make. But guess what? Well, it was all about strategy, folks, as Jamie didn't want that position to fall into the hands of the notorious Brown, even if it meant he had to walk on eggshells around the British, being extra cautious and all. But then, out of the blue, Christie drops a bombshell, confessing to the murder of his own daughter Malva. Now, you might be wondering, how on earth does this tie into Jamie's predicament? Well, you see, if Tom hadn't taken responsibility for Malva's death, Governor Martin would have made Jamie fight for the British in exchange for Claire's freedom. But thanks to Tom's confession, Jamie was able to slip out of that sticky situation unscathed. I mean, seriously, his sacrifice pretty much gave Jamie a get-out-of-jail-free card, and fans couldn't be more relieved. Despite Tom's questionable past, his unexpected stunt changed the game for the Fraser clan, allowing Jamie to not publicly side with the revolution, and making sure that Claire could no longer be used as a bargaining chip by Governor Martin against him. You best believe fans loved every bit of it. But after Tom confessed to killing Malva, you'd think that the case was closed, right? Wrong. The real killer is still out there, lurking in the shadows.
29 days by last count.
You haven't had a trial yet?
No, praise God.
Ain't been anybody tried in the last 2 months. Maisie says the court shut down.
Just like in the books, Tom dropped yet another bombshell, revealing that Malva wasn't actually his daughter, but his niece. Shocker, right? But here's where it gets even spicier. Tom's comments about her slyness also seem to imply that this girl could be a witch. I mean, we already got time travel, so why not add a bit more magic to the mix? Still, like pretty much everyone else, neither Jamie nor Claire believed that Tom was the real killer, knowing that he took the blame to ensure their safety back in Season 6.
We'll need to speak with you. Privately.
Whatever you have to say, my wife can hear it as well.
A fan on Reddit even drew a comparison between Christie and Sidney Carton from A Tale of Two Cities. And if you know anything about that guy, you know that Tom's sacrifice is going to be super important in the future. But here's where things get interesting. Despite trading in his freedom, the writers have still kept the identity of Malva's killer a mystery, which is an interesting choice, especially considering how her story takes a much darker turn in the books. One fan who's been closely following the show also pointed out another interesting clue. You see, since Alan is blood-related and Malva was only half-blood, it makes sense for him to be the killer, since Tom carefully sneaked in a comment about blood before turning himself in. The dots are starting to connect. Fans are also glad that the season premiere ended the Browns' feud with the Frasers. Ever since Season 5, these two families have been at each other's throats. Lionel Brown had a historic grudge against Claire, and I mean, he despised her with every fiber of his being. Talk about being a dedicated hater. But when Marsali stepped in and took matters into her own hands by killing Lionel, as revenge for abducting and assaulting Claire in the Season 5 finale, well, let's just say the Browns did not let that slide. Enter Richard Brown, Lionel's brother, who made it his life's mission to avenge his brother's blood and bring the Frasers to justice. Things reached a boiling point in the Season 7 premiere, though, as Jamie had finally had enough of Richard's antics, which is justified since the guy literally tried to ship Jamie off to Scotland. Yep, Richard's biggest mistake was trying to get between this power couple, and Jamie let him know that, giving him the choice to either bury the hatchet or each other. Once the credits started rolling, though, fans were left wondering whether Jamie would actually follow through on his promise to kill Richard, leaving that man-child's fate up in the air for now. Some fans are already calling it Schrodinger's Brown, since the opening shot of the next part with reveal whether he's still standing. Damn you, stars. Enough with the cliffhangers already. But hey, at least this final shot teased the arrival of Red Jamie.
Any goodness that prevails in me is because of my wife. You try to take her from me.
You won't kill me.
That epic cliffhanger had me so far on the edge of my seat that I was practically levitating, and the rest of you lot on Reddit feel the same. Boy, was it a real treat to watch. Seeing Brown try and slither his way out of a bullet in the skull by telling Jamie that he's a good and moral man was fun to watch, especially since I knew Jamie, being Jamie, wasn't gonna let that slide. Our fearless Highlander fires back, saying that he's not just good and moral, but also a violent man. Now that's a mic drop moment if I've ever seen one. Dude casually dropped the hardest quote of the whole series and acted like we wouldn't notice. That line also carries a lot of weight for everyone who knows Jamie, and all the things he's had to go through to reach this point. It's like they say, you don't know the amount of violence it takes for someone to be that gentle, and it was at this moment that Red Jamie, the fierce and unyielding warrior, finally arrived. You gotta hand it to Sam Heughan for his performance in this scene. He made Jamie feel truly intimidating in that scene, and it sure has left me hungry for more. So, what's next for Jamie and Brown? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. For now, though, let's take a second to appreciate how well this season was adapted from the books. Unlike the previous season, I've yet to see a single fan complain about, well, anything from the first part. I've seen nothing but praise for the writers staying true to the book's plot. And trust me, if they continue to deliver top-shelf stuff like this, we're just scratching the surface of what's to come. Take Tom's confession to Claire, for example, a scene that hit us right in the feels. Even I was trying to find the invisible ninjas cutting onions around me. And for all of you who were caught off guard by the sudden declaration of love, take a trip down memory lane to season 6, where it was obvious that Tom's always had a thing for Claire. Seeing him finally pour his heart out actually made a lot of sense. Some fans even felt that this episode would have been the perfect season 6 finale, and I agree, since it tied up so many loose ends while also loosening up more to be explored. Cliffhangers, remember, the only problem that some people seem to have was with Wendigo Donner. Now, if you haven't read the books, this might be a spoiler for you, but trust me, it's essential for context. If you can remember back in season 4, Brianna travels back in time to warn Claire and Jamie about a devastating fire destroying Fraser's Ridge. Well, turns out that this fire is set by another time traveler, Donner himself, who's on a quest to find a gemstone that'll help him return to his own timeline. In the season 7 premiere, Donner drops a bombshell on Roger, claiming to already have the gemstone, but there was a catch for him to use it. Turns out that he'll have to fight for the British due to being a prisoner, which prevents him from making his journey back home. Now, this doesn't mean that Wendigo will lose the gemstone itself, but for some reason, his entire arc in the episode left fans feeling even more confused. It wasn't necessarily the character itself that fans had an issue with, but rather the fact that, for some reason, Brianna and Roger had a whole conflict over whether or not to help him. Many book readers suspect that this specific part might just be a show-exclusive scene, which would explain why they struggled to grasp Wendigo's true motives. If that truly is the case, then let's hope part 2 addresses this issue.
What did you just say? Muhammad Ali. You're a traveler, aren't you? Like me. You've got to help me.
So from fans confused about Roger and Bree's reaction to Wendigo, to Tom Christie sacrificing himself to save Claire, this was how fans reacted to Outlander Season 7 Part 1.
Don't do it. And yet, I keep looking for some way that I can.